Hello people of the internet, it's Amanda, and if you're new here on my channel, I usually talk about Japanese dramas, movies, pop culture, entertainment, but sometimes I also tap into other Asian topics, pop culture related stuff here on my channel, and that's what we're doing in today's video. So as you've seen from the title, I actually want to talk about BINI's Pantropiko, but also just the P-pop space in general. To be honest, I haven't really dived deep into this yet, but I've been seeing them everywhere. I think a lot of people that I know are really into them, which is really exciting. I saw in the news that the day one of their concert is sold out, and that's super amazing, to the point that the demand is so big they had to add like a third day to their concert, which I think is really amazing, that a lot of people are finally diving deep into just our local pop scene as well. It's very different from OPM, this is kind of like a new generation approach to it. Like, we've had groups like this before, but I think because of the fascination around K-pop, C-pop, J-pop recently, P-pop is also its own approach and subculture or subgenre into Filipino music, and I think that's really awesome. And there's still so much to learn and research and just discover about it, at least from my own perspective. But just looking at the discourse surrounding it as well on the internet, some things that I've been seeing so far, just following this newfound awareness of BINI and other P-pop groups in the local scene, I think there's much to be said about it, especially as someone who's also coming from the perspective of a J-pop fan, who there's a lot of comparison usually to how K-pop is doing it and all these things. So I'll share more of my insights on this later. But with that said, so let's just get to it. I'm gonna be reacting and talking about the music video first, which I've only heard parts of, but I haven't really seen the entire music video or haven't heard the entire song yet. So this is pretty exciting for me, and without further ado, let's just get to it. Visually, didn't expect anything less. Of course, Filipinas and just women in general, so beautiful. I love the outfits, are very girly. They're like showing some skin, but it's also very nice and just fresh and colorful. There's also kind of like a very trendy vibe to it, with a coquette aesthetic, if you will. Very girly girl, which is really nice. Didn't expect anything less performance-wise, because Filipinos just really awesome when it comes to performing, dancing, music. That's a very smooth transition from Tagalog to English, which is amazing. And again, another one. Pronunciation is also not something that feels or sounds very forced, which is amazing. And this is a chorus that I think is very catchy. This is such a very bubblegum pop, danceable song, which I think is amazing. That's cute. And again, I like that they're not just this one profile of a look, They look very Filipina. Some of them look a little bit chinita, which I think is really nice. It really represents, that Filipino vibe of, it's not just a homogeneous look. truly stands out to me for some reason. Again, I don't know anything about them yet, so I don't know their names, but she's been standing out since early on. And I like that they weren't put in outfits that would be uncomfortable to dance in. They're wearing flats, they're wearing long skirts and shorts. The ones that are wearing short ones, they have cycling shorts, but it doesn't look ugly because it's also stylized really well. That's really nice. I think just overall, not just the production, but even the way that they're stylized, you know. Yeah, again, I think she's my favorite member so far. That's so cute. It was fun. I don't think I've listened to a lot of girl groups in general, not just in P-pop, but just in Asian, in like bubblegum pop style of music recently, because I think just girl groups in general, there's a lot of transition into edgier music, at least at some point in their current careers, or when it comes to, you know, these types of sounds where it's just fun, summery, colorful kind of vibe, it's reserved for a specific type of aesthetic, at least from what I've observed in K-pop. I think in terms of J-pop, it's a lot more different because a lot of artists as well, they're venturing into different sounds, aesthetics, all these things. So it's quite refreshing to have, you know, this kind of vibe where it's just chill, fun, something that you can vibe with as you go along. I understand the hype given this just one song, and I'm not just saying that out of anything, but I understand the hype because they're very pretty girls, but the way that they're stylized as well, it's not something that's outrageous or, you know, it's not too forced in a sense that just to say they're Filipino, there has to be a lot of symbolisms here and there, or at least in my perspective as a casual viewer, first-time viewer of the music video, there's really not a lot of like in-your-face imagery there, but their identity in itself, just the song speaking for itself, it's in Taglish, but they were able to like convey that very beautifully, which I think is something that has been like a lot of Filipino groups has been experimenting for so far. Is, you know, it's either that balance of injecting some in-your-face Filipino-ness to it or sounding too foreign to the point that it kind of loses that factor. But I think in the P-pop landscape nowadays, I've only been a lot more familiar with SB19 as compared to like the other groups, but I know there are a lot more P-pop groups emerging nowadays similar to BINI, is that they've definitely started to shape and hone that side of it where there's a balance of Filipino-ness, but not necessarily it being to, hey, I'm Filipino, hey, I'm doing this, whatever. It's just music that is fun in the local language, which resonates to an audience simply because, you know, it's fun, good music. So that's one point. That was a fun music video. It wasn't like there's not a lot that went into it in terms of having too many locations, whatever, but it just fits the vibe of the song, it being summery, them not having too many elaborate costume changes and all that. Sometimes simplicity is all we need. And as much as I like very high level produced type of music videos and stuff like that, sometimes, especially when it comes to just very nice, cheery music videos, you just need cute music, a couple of changes here and there, just so it wouldn't be too stagnant in one place. And I think this music video rocked that overall. Now, with that said, moving into the discourse or discussion surrounding P-pop, ever since they started booming, at least from my perspective, that to the point that it reached my radar as well, who isn't into the whole P-pop space yet. There's a lot of criticism saying that P-pop is nothing more than a rehash of K-pop or whatever. This is something that I've hated for a while now, and this is not just specific to P-pop, but as a fan of J-pop as well. Every single time that there's a mainstream sounding thing happening, people who are into K-pop, and I'm not generalizing everyone, but this is just a common trend that I've observed, they always revert back to how it's referencing K-pop as if music didn't exist before K-pop. And there's a lot of like 2000s, 80s, 70s, and 90s subgenres that follow the same suit of it just being, again, bubblegum pop type of sound, very, focusing on like girl groups, just very nice, cheery music, all these things. This has existed before K-pop, and even K-pop has a lot of references when it comes to other, like from music from other countries. So it's not like K-pop is like pioneered this entire genre of having cutesy types of concepts, So it really irks me whenever I see people saying that this certain type of music, just because it's fun, bubbly, colorful, anything, is already referencing or pirating K-pop. So just to put it out there, that's annoying to me. I think that just the mere fact that it incorporates the Filipino language so smoothly, because I think before as well, like a couple of years ago, the problem in trying to do this is we try so much to reincorporate very deep Filipino words into pop music, which I have no problem at all. But I think given how that's not how the language is spoken naturally on a daily basis, then therefore it doesn't resonate as well as compared to now, where a lot of groups, definitely writers, composers, producers, have gotten a lot better in terms of incorporating the language in how we naturally speak it. Like for example, in the song, the transition between the Tagalog and the English stanzas are so good, and that's really hard to do since Filipino just generally spoken is so hard to get right phonetically in terms of matching it with a melody. So at least based from experience also, like singing Filipino songs it's kind of hard. Like if there are some words in Filipino that if you sing it and the melody is just not at par with, how you would usually say the song, it would sound really off. But composers, producers, writers nowadays are doing such a good job in terms of meshing like the lyrics with a melody that works so well when you hear it, and it makes it enjoyable, a lot more enjoyable, and matches that entire vibe. And if we even go back to that entire, language thing on whether or not it's quote unquote cringe, as how some people would like to put it, you wouldn't even know, like if you translate some of the K-pop, C-pop, J-pop songs into, the English language, some of them are also have very cringe lyrics, but we eat them up simply because there's still that barrier there. Like even if you understand the language, sometimes just directly translating a song into its local iteration gives you the cheesiest, funniest, campiest lyrics. But for some reason, we're a lot harsher when it's local music, when it's P-pop. Like that's something that I don't understand. I think it's because there was a point where it was considered jeje, or jeje, for those who don't know, it's its own subculture, subgenre that happened like a couple of years ago, which is kind of like the iteration of the local cringe in Filipino. But I mean, looking back, that was fun because at least, there's this incorporation of the language it's just a fascinating thing of how these subcultures kind of like grow into their own thing. They have their own like styles and whatever. And P-pop isn't that at all. It's just like people who love to hate on things that are local or something new or anything like that, kind of like associates anything that has to do with this difference or this emergence of this new kind of thing into something that's cringe. And again, I'm saying new in the sense that a lot of people are starting to like it. I think there's now a lot of resistance when it comes to calling local stuff as cringe compared before, where that was the major mentality. Like anything like the rap songs combining English and Filipino played in jeepneys are considered, like horrible, cringy music. But, looking back, those are some of the most creative, like music iterations or rehashes or remixes that's done by local artists, indie artists, and now it's transforming into this entire thing of P-pop having the local language spoken as it is, being incorporated into songs that are pop, that are enjoyable, and on almost the same level as what we listen to from different countries. So there's that. When it comes to going global, this is something that I've iterated a lot here on this channel. There's still this mentality that in order to go global, there has to be, like, English should still be the base language. And that's no problem to P-pop or Filipinos, because a lot of the, major of the population, it's one of our main languages here in the Philippines, so that's no problem at all. But I think even for other dialects, for other countries, language nowadays just comes second when it comes to the entertainment value or the sellability of an artist. Sometimes an artist comes in, this goes for statistics as well. I think with Spotify releasing their statistics from last year, there's a lot of fascination when it comes to Mando pop or Mandarin pop, when it comes to Afro beats, when it comes to music from different parts of the country, and they don't necessarily have to understand the language on point to be able to enjoy what that type of music or a specific song has to offer. And that goes with P-pop as well. Like, there's not a full need for them to just go fully English. And that's the magic of this, is that artists are now finally tapping into not just Tagalog, but also different dialects from different parts of the Philippines, reincorporating that into songs, actually putting them on streaming platforms or distribution platforms, and then starting to have their own fan bases. And these fan bases can grow into something that's not just local, but global in the future. There's a lot of potential in music nowadays, and I don't see why there's just a lot of people who are just hating it for the sake of hating it, or they think it's still cool to call these diverse types of musics as cringe. And again, just because something is new and fresh and it sounds mainstream pop, it doesn't necessarily make it a reference to K-pop. Like, K-pop isn't the only pop music that exists now, and it's not the only one that existed before, and it also references other inspirations from from different countries. And to say that is a disservice to these artists and music producers who are trying to incorporate what's trendy into the local scene. And I think that's my piece on it. I do think that this is so exciting that a lot of people are actually supporting local acts if we can spend a lot. And I'm talking to myself as well, as someone who is a fan of foreign groups. As I mentioned earlier, I'm into J-pop a lot. I have a favorite J-pop group, and this is exciting, and I don't see why a lot of people view being a fan of a local P-pop group as something that is very, very different from supporting pop groups from different countries. And I'm sure that's the same. There's a similar mentality in other countries as well when it comes to their local music. Like, there might be similar cases to that, and this is not an isolated case for the Philippines at all. But I just want to put my opinion out there as well, that number one, just because, again, this is something fresh, new, something that works. it's not because it's following the formula of K-pop or any other thing. That's just how it is. Art takes inspiration from other forms of art, and that's just how music and other forms of media have evolved over the years. And with so many things happening nowadays, it's not more so when it comes to originality, because that's really hard and challenging, but in terms of making things your own, even if it's inspired by other things, not necessarily copying, but making it your own and improving on that and leveraging that kind of inspiration into creating your own brand identity. So yeah, I think that's the reason why I just want to make this video, is because aside from hearing a lot of good things about BINI, there's just a lot of conversation about P-pop recently that I still have a lot to learn from, but I also have some opinions to share as somewhat semi an outsider to the genre just yet, but also as someone who observed this phenomenon of music for so long. So yeah. Now, with that said, so tell me all your opinions down in the comments below. Are there any other songs from BINI that is as cute or exciting to listen to as this? I might try to listen to some of their music, or even explore some other local groups now that I've tried them before, because I'm always looking for new music. I think that's my mission for 2024, is to look for new artists, new music to listen to, because my music gallery has been stagnant for years now. So let me know that in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to my channel and you would want to hear more from me, please hit subscribe. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll be seeing you again soon in a new one. Bye!